Hey friends, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us in today's story. Halloween is just right around the corner, so this is going to be the perfect story for that. This story is about a nurse who worked at a hospital in the trauma unit a few years prior, and she experienced some creepy sleep paralysis. You guys will have to stay tuned in order to figure out what happened. So one day there was this nurse who worked at the hospital for a few years now. She started working in the trauma unit and she now floats around the hospital. Sleep paralysis has been common among the years, but nothing to this extreme. So a week prior, before the sleep paralysis, she had a dream that there were flies swarming her house. Huge flies with long legs. And there was also a lot of dead flies around the house. When she woke up, she thought nothing of it. A week goes by and Halloween's just right around the corner. Her in-laws were doing an early Halloween party, but she was scheduled to work that night. She started to prepare goodie bags for the kids. And as she was preparing the goodie bags, she was checking the candies and everything was normal, so nothing out of the ordinary. She ended up giving the goodie bags to her husband to bring over to their in-laws. And the next day when the kids opened up her goodie bags, flies and maggots were all over the candies. Then one morning when she got off work around 7 or 8, she decided to hold their 7-month-old baby to sleep on the first floor. No one else was home at the time. The rest of the kids were at school while the husband went to work already. Her body started to go limp as she entered the half-awake, half-asleep mode, but can still hear everything around her. The sleep paralysis has started. All of a sudden, she hears someone walking upstairs and flushes the toilet. Then a shadow flew down the stairs as stomps came down the stairs. The shadow walks past the living room and into the dining room, then made his way into the kitchen. When he got into the kitchen, the sink turned on and ran the water as if someone was washing their hands. She fought to make a move and try to shrug off the heavy presence off from on top of her and the baby, with little success. It felt as if her newborn was preventing her from getting up, fearing that she would see the shadow face to face. After a few moments, she breaks free from the sleep paralysis and wakes up. She mentioned that everything felt so real, and she felt as if she saw everything with her own eyes while still being half awake, half asleep. She then reaches out for help. When she contacted me, she told me about the incident and the sleep paralysis. I started chanting and entered her house. She had no house guardians or suka, so I was able to enter it freely. Usually when they have a house guardian or suka, they will greet you at the door and ask who you are before they let you enter. So when I got into her house, I saw an old white man, sort of Russian, in his 60s or 70s, standing next to her. After a few moments, a few images popped up in my head. I saw a blue polka dot hospital gown, along with a cane and a walker. I then grabbed a hold of the old man and asked him why he was following her. He then shows me that, or like an image or a clip of him laying on the hospital, and I see him screaming for help. I see a nurse rush into the hospital room as he starts shouting, and then he gasps for his last breath and cross over. He tried calling for help, but when help arrived, he was already dead. So when this nurse came by, her light on the spiritual side was shining very bright. So that's why this old man was able to grab a hold of her. He was trying to get her to help him. I then asked her if she recalls an incident like this, but she mentioned that she took care of too many patients and a lot of people passed away, so there's not one memory that was specific that she could recall. I then tell him that she isn't able to help him and for him to let her go. If he lets her go, then I will send him halfway to his destination. He then agrees, and I had my guides walk him halfway. We then send him off and cover the tracks and trails that were left behind. On the spiritual side, wherever we go, we leave footprints. So we always got to make sure that we cover our footprints so that nothing follows us home. We then, my guides and I then secured her home and double checked that her home was clean before we left. She did have a question about the flies and what the purpose of the flies was. So I ended up asking my guides what the flies symbolized, and the only thing that they could tell me was that when you get older, things become gross and disgusting. And especially if you're coming from the hospital, there's nothing that's really clean. So the flies was symbolizing that there was something that wasn't good inside the house. The wandering old man from the hospital still lived like he was at the hospital, like from using the bathroom to washing his hands in the sink. This would have been the same routine that he had at the hospital. So far, everything's been quiet ever since the session took place. That's going to be it for this story. I want to thank all you guys for listening. If anyone hasn't liked, subscribed, or comment on our channels or videos, please do so. We would appreciate it. And if anyone else has any stories that they would like to submit, please send us an email. Our email is in the description below. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.